This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Southern Magnolia Smiles, a locally owned and operated dental office right here on Washington Avenue in Ocean Springs. Dr. Robbie Williams and his friendly staff have a number of different customizable treatment options and provide a comfortable environment just for you.
Check them out at their website, southernmagnoliasmiles.com, or find them on Facebook and Instagram. Now let's jump into the episode.
What's up, everybody? It's the Brownwater Banter podcast. I am Jared Seymour, and I'm sitting here today talking with Debra. We have a different topic that we're going to talk about today, different than anything I've done on the podcast before, but one that I'm very much wanting to share with everybody that listens to this. Debra and I met at the Hard Rock back. When was that? Do you remember?
It was last April.
Last April. Okay, so wow, that's
was
been
it
a
March
while.
or April?
I don't know. I knew it'd been a while back, but I'm terrible with time. I don't know if yesterday was yesterday or if it was 6 months ago. So,
Yeah.
but so let's call it April. And I want to explain that we're here today to talk about and celebrate the life of her late husband. And we're going to be talking about some topics that are kind of heavy on the show today. But hopefully people that listen can take something positive away from that. And that's what we want to keep this, is definitely positive. So back in April of last year, the way I remember it, I was sitting at the Hard Rock with my wife and some of her friends, and we're sitting there talking, and you and I somehow started talking, and I don't remember what sparked the conversation. If you do, you can help me out with that.
Well, I remember you sitting there, and I just walked up to you, and I don't know if I spoke to you or you spoke to me.
I don't remember, yeah.
But we were just, I don't know, we connected.
Right.
And I have a knack for connecting with people at the Hard Rock, I think.
That's your spot. Yeah.
I know this was spot.
Yeah.
So anyway, but we connected, and somehow I don't know if I told you I was widowed. I don't know how, but in meeting you immediately,
Right.
We talked about the fact that I was widowed and I had lost my husband. Your mother had recently passed away.
That's right.
And we had a really heavy conversation about death
That's
at that
right.
point.
In the middle of the Hard Rock at the Center Bar.
Yeah.
But I do remember that, and I remember it being one of those conversations that it was different. It wasn't like a normal, hey, how are you kind of conversation, obviously because of the topic, but I could tell we shared a similar experience, even though they're very different, and we'll get into that. But it was special, and I remember saying saying that night that we needed to talk about it and share your story, because I could tell you were very comfortable talking about it. And I wanted you to do the podcast. Here we are a little bit closer to a year later, and we're doing it, and I'm excited about it, although I'm very, very nervous, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, don't be nervous.
Yeah, but so let's talk about, I'll kind of lead with my side of it. I haven't shared this on the podcast, but my mother passed away April of 2018, and it was very sudden. She had a stroke, passed away at work. No warning signs that you look back and you see some, but at the time it was very sudden for us. We didn't expect that, obviously. But your situation with your husband was completely different. He got a cancer diagnosis, and y'all had to go through all of that. And that's what we're going to talk about today is how you handled that, and what that experience was like for you, correct?
Right, yeah. So it was kind of crazy. August of 20... God, it's so weird. The time just flies. But August of 2016, my husband, who was very healthy, ran, worked out, just did everything that you should do.
Right.
For the most part. I mean, he loved beer, but
Who doesn't?
I know, right? Everybody does. But yeah, but he was a great guy, and he really had not had any symptoms, no anything that would make you think that he was sick. He was 49 years old, so he was 6 months out from having a colonoscopy.
There you go. You got it. Colonoscopy. You got it.
Colonoscopy scheduled. So he would have had that scheduled in December. Unfortunately, go to the doctor, and it was so weird because he went, if I remember right, maybe like on a Tuesday or Wednesday. We get some test results back on Friday, very close to our doctor in Jacksonville, Florida, and the doctor calls at like 4:30 on a Friday and says, hey, the doctor called, not the nurse. The doctor
Right.
called and said, hey, can you come to my office, and you need to bring your wife with you. Well, we instinctively knew then
This is they don't call you down there for good news.
No,
Yeah.
not on Friday. So this is on Friday. So we go down and they tell us we see something and it's really bad. We're going to get you scheduled in. So scheduled in for test on Monday. It was a horrible weekend because you're just sitting there going, you know, what is it? What is it? What is it? And the doctor already said, it ain't good, even though, you know, we didn't know any diagnosis, hadn't
Right.
had anything. So Go in to have a colonoscopy on Monday, and he has a complete obstruction, emergency surgery
Right.
scheduled. But as we go in, and like I said, there were some tests in there. All of this just gets really weird. But a couple of tests in there. We go to have the surgery, and Don made the doctor promise him that he would not put a bag on him.
Right. That's I work in healthcare, and that's in surgery specifically too. It's one of the biggest fears people have, and understandably so.
And Don said to the doctor, "I don't want this." He's like, don't do it. I'm not approving it. I'm not approving the surgery for you to do this.
Right.
So the doctor promises him, I will do everything not to do that. Well, after about an 8-hour surgery, the doctor came out and said, you took 10 years off of my life, but I did not have to put a bag on. But he was like, you're not going to eat for like 28 days, and you better not give your wife any crap because you needed a bag, but I've done this for you. But you've got to be super, super careful to make sure, because it was tough to get everything done. Anyway, long story short, we start at that point. They set us up with an oncologist. We know it's cancer. We know it's bad. They come back with a stage 4 diagnosis. They kind of told us it was going to be, you might get 4 to 5 years. Who knows? There's a treatment coming next week. You know, there's always something around the corner. They give you such hope, which is awesome. I think you need that. But you also need to prepare yourself for
the inevitable, right?
What's coming with stage 4 cancer. So very lucky for me, my niece is a nurse practitioner and in an oncology group. So
wow, okay.
She was my lifeline. She was my lifeline for all of this, because everything that we did, we would run it to her. We'd say, hey, what do you think about this? And honestly, her group talked to, she would talk to her group, and they would give us their suggestions, because she was in Alabama, I was in Jacksonville. Best clinics in the world. We were at MD Anderson. I mean, Mayo is right there.
Right.
It was everywhere. But this is the deal. It doesn't matter when it comes to that point. So you just get the best that you can. You research it. You do everything you can. But we went through every treatment series that we could. Each one would make him a little sicker. And finally he said, I'm done. And at this point, we're about 18 months into the treatments and everything. And they tell us, they say, there's one more we're going to try. If it doesn't work, then that's probably the last thing that we can suggest. So did the treatment. It didn't work. And Don at that point said, I'm done. Just let me live my life. And that was probably in April. And then May the 1st, they told us, went to the doctor, and they said, the Dr. Kevin Hunger, who's an amazing man, said, you've got about 21 days to live. He said, do whatever you need to do. And so we, Don and I are in the same industry, work for an amazing company who was very, very supportive. And we went home and we just kind of sat down and made a list of what we needed to do, what we wanted to do. Don, really wanted to make sure I was okay. Made a couple of videos for me, and we can talk about those. Some of them are funny.
Right.
Some of them are sad. Some of them he is, and I really haven't shared them with very many people because I was kind of hanging on to them in case, because Don was like, okay, I don't want you showing this video to everybody, but hold on to it if you ever need it. He wanted me to be protected. He wanted me, he wanted everyone to know that the decision to stop the treatments was his, that we talked about it, but it was a decision that ultimately he owned. And I feel like the owner of the disease
and their life
should be the one who holds the final say and the final card to make the decision of, I'm done, just let me live my life. Unfortunately, I guess because I've been around death, my dad died of cancer, my brother-in-law died of cancer, had a lot of loss in my life due to that. They should be the ones that
100% agree with that.
That can make that decision, and we need to respect that for them. But it's a little weirdly makes me comfortable with that part of.
What do you mean?
It makes me comfortable with death, because
you've experienced so many
because I've
times?
experienced it, and quite honestly, Don's nurse, his oncologist nurse, was with him 3 days before he passed away. He asked her to come in, and he said, I want to thank her for what she's done for me, because she had been through the journey with us for months. And he asked her, he said, should I be afraid to die? And we'd already had the discussions with, with different people. Don was Catholic. and different people, he talked to Baptist preachers because he loved my preacher. Just
Right.
there were, I mean, it was just kind of a weird thing. But anyway, he had a lot of conversations with a lot of people about death and what to expect. And when Rita came in, she told Don, she said, "There's nothing to fear."
Right.
She said, "There's nothing to fear." She said, "It's going to be, from what I've experienced and seen people experience," she said, "it's going to be something that you'll have no more pain." So she said, don't fear that. So I guess that has really
It's death as a relief.
is a
at
relief.
that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
I've worked in ICUs. I worked in them for 4 years, so I'm not new to death. I mean, I've seen it. Like, obviously, our number one goal in that situation is to get the patient better and get them out of there. But sometimes, certain diagnoses, certain situations, that's never going to happen, right? And it's different when it's your loved one and your family member. You have to process it differently than you do as the person who is you're a healthcare professional there to do a job, and part of that job is to comfort the family, to be there for the patient. But it's just different when it's your loved one that's going through that. So I was not unfamiliar with death when it came into my life the way that it did. And I think it's different sometimes. One of my takeaways from everything was that we're all gonna die. Right. At some point,
Absolutely.
You don't think about it very often. And especially when you're younger, right. You think of death as something that happens when you're old, right. Or
Right.
way later in life. But unfortunately it sneaks up either to someone or to someone you love or are related to in your life at times that you don't expect it. And for me, the takeaway is that you have to appreciate every single day, every single moment, and not take those for granted because you don't know how many you're going to get.
Oh, absolutely. And the one thing I tell people, and maybe it's just me, I don't know, but there is a day you pray for them to get better. You
Right.
want them to get better. But there is a day that you will pray for them to have peace, because when you watch them suffer day in, day out, you don't want to see that anymore. And quite frankly, I think that, and I know I'm so guilty of it with my dad, with my husband before he died. I wanted him to live because I didn't want to live without him, but it was selfish of me
Correct.
to want that. And so when it really came down to the end, I prayed. I just prayed for him to have peace, because you know what? I had 10 of the best years of my life. I probably lived more in 10 years, and my friends who know me know that I never stopped. Don and I never stopped. We did everything. We loved to travel. We loved to have a good time. And I mean, it was 24/7. It was 24/7.
That brings up a good point, and I was thinking is that one of the things that what your situation is, and it can be both bad and I don't know if good's the right word, but y'all got to talk about what he wanted, how he wanted to live the rest of his life that he had left, correct? He got to make some of those decisions with you or for you, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
I know sometimes people don't get that opportunity. Say, for instance, a loved one's in a situation where they're on life support or whatever. It puts the family members in some difficult places sometimes, especially when those people aren't familiar with healthcare or medicine, and don't have like a niece, like you said, to help to talk to. Obviously, they're going to talk to their doctors that they're working with, but that does put people in a tough situation sometimes. And if people are listening to this, I know it's uncomfortable, especially if you've never had to deal with it before, but the importance of talking to your family members about how they want their end of life done. Me and my mother had spoke about that before. I knew what she wanted.
Right.
100% knew what she
Right.
wanted. But I know people that have never talked to their parents or their wives or whatever about what they want. I think that's as uncomfortable it's something that you might, if you're listening to this, may think about, take away from this podcast.
Right, absolutely. The one thing that was really, they make you do, especially when Don had the surgery, was we had to fill out the living will.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to know his choice. Don made it very clear he wanted 0 life support.
Right.
I mean,
That's right.
don't do that to me. At that point, we knew what he wanted. He was an organ donor, so somebody's out there. And maybe this is why, and I'm glad I'm bringing this up, but I think that's why I know Don's gone, but there's so much of him that's alive.
Yeah.
Because he was an organ donor.
That's
so
awesome.
there are several things that I can't even imagine what someone is seeing with his beautiful eyes.
Right. That's what my mother was able to donate
to do. So that was pretty cool to me. And I haven't found out those things. I don't even know if they'll let you know, but he let me know he wanted to be cremated. He specifically told me everywhere he wanted his ashes spread. I've gone everywhere except one place to do that, and it's so weird because I questioned him on it. I'm like, so he wanted to be in all these places. He actually sent me on a cruise after he died. Went to Cuba. So in honor of him doing that,
Really?
I did. He sent me, and my girlfriend went with me. We had the best time ever. So two things happened on that trip. One, I actually did get on the stage at the Tropicana and spread his ashes on the stage. I had him in a tiny little vial, and you have no idea. And, I was
And he
like,
told you to do that.
oh my God, you
Yeah.
have no idea what this man told me to do.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. But one crazy thing that happened on the cruise, and I've got a couple of other videos I can show you. But so we're on this cruise. We go to Key West, and we were going to go to Sloppy Joe's. He wanted me to spread some there, and I was like, I can't do it sober. We'd just gotten off the ship, and I'm like, nah, we're not doing that, Jill. So we leave, we go take the tour, we do all the stuff all over the island. We're chasing the chickens. We go have lunch at this really nice place. And of course, we're everywhere we go. I had koozies made for his memorial that I had. So I had koozies, and I carried him on the trip with me. And it was Always With Us, Donald Paul Lynch.
Okay.
Black and gold. I should have brought you one.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll bring you one.
He was a Steelers fan.
He
we
was
talked about that.
yes, he was.
I'm not gonna hold that against him.
I know,
but I
right?
understand he was
big,
from there.
Yeah, big Pittsburgh Steeler fan
Right.
from the Berg, Bloomfield. So anyway, so when we finally get to the bar, several beers in, and I don't drink Miller Lite, but I drank Miller Lite everywhere because he was a Miller Lite guy. So
Okay.
I switched brands after he died just because.
I'm a Coors Light guy. I won't also hold that against him.
Right.
but-
I'll tell you another story about the Miller Lite later. But anyway, so we're in the bar, and I'm under the table trying to spread the ashes discreetly because not everybody wants ashes
Right,
everywhere. And
right.
I know Sloppy Joe's may send me a bill now.
They
but
may,
I
they
know,
may.
right? But my girlfriend's taking a picture of me, and she goes, "Oh my God!" She said, "You're not going to believe this." And over my right shoulder, and I can show you the photo, is a guy sitting in a Lynch jersey. Now, I know this jersey is Marshawn Lynch.
Right. We've talked before we started recording and talked some that night. You have
Right.
a lot of crazy coincidental stuff that
Crazy.
happens to you in your life.
Yep, absolutely.
Does it give
And-
you the chills, or at this point are you
No,
just kind of used to it?
I love it because Don promised me he was never going to leave. He promised me he was, I said to him, we were walking, I remember exactly where I was. We're walking around our block, and I said to him, God, I'm going to be so sad when you're gone. And he goes, babe, I'm not leaving. And I'm like, Don, you're dying. And he said, baby, I'm dying, but I'm not leaving. And he was like, I'm going to be the moon. I'm going to be the sun. I'm going to be a bird. I'm just going to be, he said, you're never going to know. He said, you'll know when I'm there, but I'm not going to be just one thing. I'm going to be many things. And I'm like, and so sometimes I'll take a photo, and I've shared different things. Like I've shared photos of like hands in the sky. It looks like two hands in the sky. I've got videos of orbs, and I'll be happy to share that with you. And I would love for someone to be able to say, that's crazy.
Right.
That's not there. Okay. Whatever. Show me it's not crazy. I can show you what it is. It's what I see. But anyway, yeah, a lot of different things have happened. So that was one of the coolest things on that trip.
We haven't, we're kind of alluding to it, but we haven't said it yet, like what kind of guy he was. You told me he was kind of the life of the party,
Oh, my
joked
God.
around all the time. Was he the kind of guy that didn't take things too serious?
At work, he took things very seriously. He was
Right.
very well respected. He ran one of the most profitable divisions in the company for many years, just so respected in the industry. And it's so weird because then he would come home and be this person who, went straight for a Miller Lite and
Right.
was like, damn. And then, we'd start deciphering the day. And then, yeah, the neighbors loved him. The kids loved him. It was just, everybody did, everybody loved Don. He was the life of the party.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And he was the love of your life. I know you described him as that, right?
Absolutely, the love of my life. We only had 10 years together. And like I said, 10 years, and I actually have that in a video because he said to me, he goes, 10 years on one hand is nothing. And then 10 years over here, man, you've got everything. So it's just really how you look at it. So it's what you make out of those 10 years that I kind of look back. And I don't regret anything that I did. When Don and I met, he lived in Maryland. I lived in Alabama. Dated long distance for probably a year and a half. And then it was like, he was like, okay, somebody's got to move. And I'm like, oh, wow, you're going to come to Alabama? And he's like, hell no. He's like, no, that's
Yeah.
not going to work. So I moved to Maryland. I left my job of 19, 20 years, and I just said, you know what? I left with what fit in my car. What fit in
Wow.
my car.
So you
I
knew.
left. I knew. I knew
Yeah.
he was the guy, and
Yeah.
it was funny because I was scared to death, but I wasn't. He bought a one-way ticket, flew down. We drove my car up. I ended up briefly leaving my company, and went to work at a competitor. I hate to say that, but I did. Awesome people.
All in the name of love.
All in the name of love. But you know what? I learned so much about myself during my journey. One, you never burn a bridge behind you, because I left on the best of terms. Actually returned to my company not very much longer after that, and still with them today. Absolutely love everybody that I work with. They've been super, super supportive. But like I said, I knew that I had to do this. So take a chance. I mean, that's what life is all about. So I did live 2 years in Maryland, went through a couple of really cold winters. So Hagerstown, Maryland, actually first lived in Thurmont, and then Hagerstown for a while, made some awesome friends there. And then Don got an opportunity to transfer to Jacksonville. And that's at the point that I returned to the company, when he transferred there, because there was something that happened to open up there for me to return, and it was just awesome. So we had these wonderful years in Jacksonville, and then even crazier. So Don passes away. Not long after Don passes away, and I mean weeks later, and Don had kind of told me, he's like, you're going to have to move, at some point, because you're going to have to help with the kids and this and then. I'm like, Don, there are no other kids. I have one daughter. Don has a daughter and a son that live in Maryland. My daughter lives in Alabama.
Okay.
Anyway, a couple weeks after Don passes away, my daughter gets pregnant with a little boy, Armistead Harper Kranz. He's amazing. Anyway, he's 11 months old yesterday.
Okay.
And a couple weeks later, Don's niece gets pregnant with a little girl. Don's godson actually just had a little boy a couple weeks ago, and his daughter is expecting a little boy early March of this year. So
there's pieces of him that are
oh
still
my
here.
God, there's all these babies, and so it gives me hope, and it gives me delight. It makes me sad that he's not here to see that,
Right.
but it makes me very, very happy, because I know that kind of in some way, I don't know, I just kind of feel like he's a tad bit responsible, maybe because he had said,
Right.
this was going to happen. I don't really know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so pretty cool. I'm excited about all that.
What was it like from the time y'all found out to the time that he eventually passed? How was that time period? Like, was it, I know you said y'all did a lot of things. Y'all went a lot of places, right?
Right. So in the beginning, and I think this is true with most people, you have extreme hope.
Right.
We're going to beat this. And that was Don's entire attitude in the beginning was, I'm not going to die.
Right.
I'm going to beat this.
Right.
They're going to come up with a treatment. Something's going to happen. And then you go from, I don't want to say once you go through so many treatments and you're so sick and you're so tired, which was crazy because he would go in on Monday morning. Sometimes I went to treatments with him. Sometimes he went alone. It just really depended. He was very, very independent. He would be like, you're not going with me. I mean, he would literally go and he had the port in his chest, and he would go hook up. He'd be there 6-8 hours or whatever. He worked the entire time. I mean, they had to put him in a special room because they were like, you can't be talking over here. And he's like, I've got work to do.
Right.
He was like, whatever. So they would put him somewhere quiet because he did not stop. I mean, he continued to work through his treatments, through everything. So, but once you get past that and you really get to the point that, well, we went through everything we could at MD Anderson, and they said, we can't help you anymore. Basically, well, I would say they couldn't help you. The doctor did not have the best bedside manner. Don didn't like him. But as I look back,
That's a real thing that happens.
Don didn't like the fact that he had cancer either.
Well,
So the doctor didn't tell him the things that he wanted to hear.
There you go.
And so it was a decision that we made. It was kind of crazy, but I ran into a neighbor and she goes, hey, I got the, how's everything going with Don's treatments? I'm like, oh my God, he does not like his doctor. But I was like, it doesn't like his diagnosis either.
Right.
So she was like, oh, come see my doctor. He's awesome. So that's whenever we switched over to to this other clinic, and they were just North Florida. They were awesome, very, very good, and led us through the rest of the journey. So as you go through your journey, things kind of change. Like I said, you go from being convinced you're going to make it to hoping you're going to make it to, damn, let's just get through today.
Right.
Let's just get through today. And then at that point, you kind of either, and like I said, I told Dr. Hunger, I said, don't sugarcoat it for me. I want to know what we have. We have to know. And so at the point that they gave us May 1st, they gave us the 21 days notice. I look back now and I'm like, because 21 days is not long.
No, it's not.
But, and honestly, out of those 21 days, I could, you mentioned it when we looked at the videos a few minutes ago, because I had a video from May 6th, and then
Right.
I think it was
3
like
days later.
3 days later.
I think it was May 6th and May 9th.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It was 3 days. I know that.
Right. It was 3 days, and it was just like
Visibly a different person.
It was crazy. So yeah, and it's crazy how they can kind of call that that's going to happen. I think that Don was so determined to live that he just didn't give up the fight. And then when they gave him that diagnosis, I think his body was at the point that it's like, you know what, you're not going to win this fight. So it became really, really hard at that point. And at that point, you just do what you can I tried to do anything that he wanted to do, anything that was comforting to him. I mean, if he wanted to go get ice cream at 10 o'clock at night, we went and ice cream at 10 o'clock at night. And I actually have a very funny video with that too.
Was there a time after the diagnosis that y'all went and traveled at all or did anything like that?
Oh, we did. Yeah. We took a couple of vacations that we just, we just went. I mean, he liked cruising because he could, even if he was really tired, because he would, and I would get so mad with him because he would cancel an entire series of treatments to go on a cruise. I'm like, Don. And I said, Don, these treatments are to help you live. And he goes, no, they're killing me. I'm going on this cruise. He's like, you going with me? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going with you. So we did a lot of traveling during that time. We went back to his hometown. We went to Pittsburgh. He wanted to go to a Steeler game. That was on his bucket list. I mean, he'd gone to many of them, but he wanted to go to one at that particular winter because he knew it would be one of the last ones. And so we actually have very good friends that live there, but his cousin bought him Steeler tickets. So we went up for Christmas, and I can show you a couple of those videos. It's actually pretty awesome to see him in the stands in all of his gear.
So you've mentioned it a couple of times, and you have a lot of videos that he recorded through this process after his diagnosis, and some of them are pretty candid. And you shared a couple of them with me,
right?
And we talked about prior to recording this that you wanted to share some of those videos on this podcast,
right?
You want to kind of describe maybe one of the ones that you want to share, and like we talked about, I'll splice it in and people can actually watch it or listen to it that's listening to the podcast. So which one of the first ones you'd like to share?
Probably the one where Don, just tells everyone, don't be mad at me that I've decided to stop treatments. And he doesn't say that's what it's about, but that's what it's about. Like I said, at this point, he's kind of, he explains a lot of it, but he doesn't want anyone to be angry with him that he's decided to stop treatments because he said, I'm sick. I'm tired. I'm just ready.
Right.
I'm ready for this journey to end.
Well, we'll jump into that real quick right now. And like I said, Debra, we talked about this before. This was something that you did want to share with the world so people can just see how, it's difficult, I'm sure, for the family when they have to realize that they're still hoping that he gets better, and he's decided that that's not how he wants to spend the rest of his days. So we'll jump into that real quick.
Yep.
Hi, this is Donald P. Lynch. We're recording this because back in August of 2016, I was diagnosed with colon cancer, which is incurable. It's very curable if it's caught early. Mine was caught at stage 4, which means not only was it on the colon, but it spread to my liver. Emergency colon surgery. They took it out, not all of it. They took a portion of it out. Survived that very well. It was a challenge. Never had that long of a hospital stay, but at any rate, survived that. Waited a month. Started about the chemotherapy dealing with the cancer that was elsewhere in the body. Couple of scans, it still showed up. They continued to escalate the medicine. It was different versions of it, and none worked, and in fact, all they did was made me sick and gave me the worst symptoms. Every symptom that was on the list, I got. So after reaching the end of that and trying our first experimental drug, this was hormonal therapy. No, that's not it.
Immunotherapy.
Immunotherapy. I personally decided that that was it. Not going through any more trials, any more, tests to see if this might work. It'll be hell for 3 months, but it might work. I'm not willing to do that at this point. Suffered enough, just going to live this out. So won't be seeking any additional treatment. Again, this is my decision. I want everybody to know that while I did take Deb's advice, she did not influence this in any way. This is my personal illness. It's a tough one, but it's also my personal decision. So at this point, I want everybody to know that respect me, respect my decision, because it's been a tough one. It's been a very difficult decision, and but it's mine, and that's how it's going to be. If anybody has any questions, let me know.
So that one's good.
Okay. And so you just got to see the video there that he made. It's heavy stuff. I know you showed it to me. It's I don't know that people get to see that a lot, like somebody dealing with mortality, right? And fully trying to process it, and making decisions based on that.
Right. And that was the one thing that I guess I wanted every bit of him that I could have to hang on to look at later to see. But these were actually his idea. He had said to me, he goes, I got another video that he was explaining what song he wanted me to play at his funeral. And it was kind of heavy because we had gone to Vegas the year before in April. So he'd known for a year he wanted this song played at his funeral. I can't even imagine how many times he listened to it, but he never, ever told me. And we were sitting there just a couple weeks before he died, and he said to me, he goes, hey, this is the song. So I just grabbed my phone, and I'm recording while it's playing on his phone, and you can see that in the video. But yeah, he thought a lot about what he wanted to do, how he wanted it to be. And quite frankly, he told me he felt like that was why I was in his life. He said, I felt like you were here to make my life good. But he was like, God sent you to me to take care of me. And I, as I look back now, and he told me that so many times, that I was there for a reason. And you know what? I think he was there to take care of me, because he, to this day, I think about things that he said to me. Things will happen. I mean, I was recently in a bar and I ordered a Bud Light, and they brought me a Miller Lite. And the guy says to me, he goes, you didn't order a Miller Lite, you ordered a Bud Light. I said, I know. I said, sit it down. I said, it's okay. My husband sent it to me. He said, do I need to get your husband a beer? And I said, no, he's dead.
Oh, Lord.
He said, how do you send you a beer? And I said,
who knows?
It's okay. Just leave the beer. It's fine. I said, please. So from that point on, I never, ever, ever will order anything other than a Miller Lite at a bar. So
we can, is that one of the videos you wanted to share, was the one of him playing the song?
Yeah, that would be kind of funny. Yeah,
okay.
Because
so we can jump into that right now.
Yeah.
Love that.
The song? I knew the minute I heard it. I heard the first word and I knew it.
Really?
Tell you where we were.
Where?
We were in the burger bar at Las Vegas last April. And the little bag that the burgers came in.
In and out.
Just a little brand new one.
So yeah, so he always enjoyed that. So one other little funny story, one of his best friends, and actually two of my coworkers. Last year we were in California. It was about this time last year, and I carry Don's ashes with me everywhere. I can't believe I don't have any today. But anyway, I don't. I've got some other stuff, but I don't have that. But we're in California, and so we go to spread his ashes because they were with me, and we thought, okay, this will be a cool thing to do. We'll go spread his little ashes on the thing. We'll go have a Miller Lite. So we go into this bar in California. Guess what we order? Miller Lite. Guess what they're out of?
Miller Lite.
I'm like, what the hell? Who the hell's out of Miller Lite? Are you serious? But it was just crazy. So we all had to drink a different beer that night because we had to have beer, of course.
Right.
But yeah, it was pretty funny. So
and I feel like we should share one of the videos of him just being silly, just so people can see, what he was like.
Oh yeah.
Before this diagnosis, to see the real person,
the
and
real
not just
person,
what he was facing. But
yeah.
And we can cut into that right now. I know you showed me one.
Let's watch it. Even though you're on my fighting side. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.
So that's him. That's him as who he was.
Right.
The life of the party, as you described it. But what has it been like for you now since he's gone? And I say gone, I mean in the physical sense. He's still with you, like you say, all these signs that he's sending you, apparently.
Right.
But what has it been like for you as a widow now, trying to deal with the loss?
Well,
obviously you talk well about it. That's one of the things that
do.
makes me feel comfortable, I guess, is
Right.
because you're so good at you've processed it. I'm sure you're still processing it, but you talk so well about it, and you're able to joke about it, which is what I really like.
Well, it's people. People ask me if I'm married, and I'm like, no, my husband's dead, and I'm very.
It's a little bit blunt for somebody who hasn't
is.
been through that, right?
It
They're
is
like,
very
"Whoa,
blunt.
what?
It is
Okay.
very blunt. But you know what? I have to laugh about it because believe me, I cry. There are so many tears. There are tears, and there are tears that people don't know about. But he was the love of my life, and he made me promise him before he died. He said, you cannot stop living. He said, you have so much life to give. And we just had a great, great relationship. We love to have a good time. We love to have fun. And I've kind of always been very frank. So I will say things that shock you, and that does not bother me.
Right.
Like not very much at all.
Right.
So being widowed has been pretty funny. So yeah, the first few months you're trying to process everything, and I kind of threw myself into my work, and like I said, my daughter gets pregnant with this baby, so I sell the house in Jacksonville. I moved to Alabama. I try to find myself a new life here, and kind of start making new friends. And it's several months in, and then I thought, you know what, maybe it's time I start dating. So I'm looking around. I work a lot, and I don't really have a big outlet to meet a lot of people, so I'm like, okay, let me try this online thing. Heard a lot about it. Oh my god,
Not fun.
no, it's insane. It's crazy. People lie. They don't tell the truth. Their pictures are 20 years
No
old.
way. I don't
oh
believe
my
it.
god,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So anyway, with that, I have I've got several friends that I hang out with, and like I said, I'm constantly, and I'm always asking people, God, you gonna set me up? You gonna find me someone? Yeah, they're still not found that person yet. I've had a couple dates. They've mostly been bad.
Now, I don't remember if we talked about this before we started recording, or if we actually recorded, but I'm going to ask again. He told you to date, right?
Oh, absolutely.
He said
He said to me, babe, go out into the world. He was like, some guy's going to be so lucky. He was like, go. He said, promise me that you will not just not live your life, because he said life is short, and basically, just go and have fun. And I mean, he said to me, meet me on the other side. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
Hope it's going to be a while. But
yeah.
But I mean, seriously.
Does that make it easier for you? Do you think you'd have struggled with that decision had y'all not had that conversation? I mean,
probably so, because there are so many people that I've talked to. I'm so intrigued by widows, widowers, and widowhood. And I like to ask a lot of questions. Most people do not have the conversations that Don and I had.
So that's what we mentioned. I think you were, again, I use this term, lucky in that way that y'all got to have those conversations.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
What are the other people that you?
A lot of people have a lot of guilt because they didn't have the conversations.
Right.
A lot of people, I mean, I've got a couple of really good friends. I've got one in particular that we have had hours and hours and hours of conversations. He was married for 30 some years to the love of his life, and it really, really is hard for some people to move on. And like I said, I don't think that it's the fact that Don and I were only together 10 years, because 10 years is a long time. But I mean, there are people that I've spoken with that have been widowed for, years, and have never dated anyone. And they were
Right.
like, I feel like I'm cheating on my
Right.
wife by doing this. And I guess that's why I don't know, I love talking to people about it. And
Yeah, I'm sure everybody has a different experience with
oh
it.
yeah, absolutely.
Like I say though, I think with you and him having spoke about that, I just think it's an awesome thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, it
because
is, yeah.
because I'm trying to gauge on what kind of person he was, and that's so awesome that he wasn't,
Selfish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
selfish. That's a
Yeah.
great word.
Yeah.
And told you like, look, you got a lot of life left to live, and don't not live it. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And it sounds like you have too.
Oh, I do. I have a good time. I love to travel. Like I said, I met you here. I love Biloxi.
That's right. That's right. That's one of the aspects of this podcast. I love the coast.
Right. I do love the coast.
You're here
It's
pretty regularly. You said about once a month.
I like to come
with
over
work?
once a month. Well, no, not for work.
Oh,
I
no,
come to play.
Oh, okay. Even better. Even better. Even better.
Yeah, it's nice, but no, it's a great area. And like I said, I love to meet people. There's always nice music here.
Right.
And like where I live, there's always, I live on the Eastern Shore, and it's just awesome there. Live music somewhere every day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, I mean, I couldn't have landed in a better spot, honestly. So I've just, kind of inserted myself into the community, and I introduced myself to people.
Well,
and
we're glad to have you here for sure.
I know, I love it. It's exciting. So.
What's one thing that you can tell or say to people that maybe you've learned or that you'd like to say, like, that are going through this? Because that's one of the reasons why I wanted to record this for people. It's not something that's talked about a lot. Like, what's the takeaway from you? I feel like for me personally, it's like I mentioned, just kind of, you can't take the time that you have for granted because you don't know how much time that is.
Right, you can't, and you can't be angry about things. You can't be angry about a bad diagnosis. We all have a I don't want to say a purpose-driven life, but we all have a life that's laid out ahead of us.
Right.
So no matter where you're at in your journey, you have to embrace where you are. I mean, maybe you're going through a bad time, but you can go through a bad time and still have fun. You can go
Right.
through a bad time and still do things that are positive. I take away from this journey that it wasn't meant for me to be with Don forever. Unfortunately, because he is no longer here, but it also has made me realize that life is short.
Right.
I'm going to enjoy what I have. I'm going to go into the world. I'm going to make friends. I'm going to, just spend every day I can having quality time. And
Do you notice
doing
the
the things-
difference since he left of how you appreciate time? Do you feel that?
I kind of did that when he was here, honestly.
Okay.
I am very, like I said, very blessed that we met each other.
Right.
And we had the lifestyle that we did, and I love that lifestyle. I'm a Leo, so I love the sun. I love the water. I have to be on the go.
Right.
They say we like the center of attention. I don't know. But I mean, seriously, it's I guess it's just my personality.
Right.
And so I do enjoy being out there. I like to make people happy. I like to make them smile. So one thing that I have learned through this journey, and that I've started doing and I really, really enjoy, was I wanted to force myself to get out of my comfort zone.
Okay.
So I signed up for dance classes. So I am taking ballroom dancing.
Okay.
And it's been really, really fun. I've met a lot of people, so do a lot of dances. It's crazy. You can go dance almost any night of the week at somewhere along the Eastern Shore, whether it's...
Was this just something you've always wanted to do, or is this...
Don and I actually took dance classes when we lived in Maryland because it was so cold there. There was not much to do, so we signed up for dance classes, and we went to Lake 2, and he's like, yeah, no, this is not going to work for
Right,
me. He was
right.
like, I hate these shoes. Plus, the dance instructor was so strict that, he was like, I know how to dance. You're telling me how to dance? And she was trying to tell him how to dance. But anyway, he thought he was a good dancer like he was.
Right.
So we did take a couple of dance
Was he?
classes. He was a great dancer. He was a great rapper. He had he loved
what?
a rapper. He loved to rap.
Like he rapped? Like he wrote his own stuff?
No.
Oh, he just rapped along with stuff.
No, he did karaoke rap.
Okay. All right. I can respect that. Do you have any of those videos?
Do
That
you
would
know
be a
what-
good one to
you know
share.
what's funny? His best friend Tim, we all went on a cruise, and he actually, I hope that I maybe could find some of that. I'll have to look and see. But yeah,
Okay.
Don always loved to sing and be the center of attention. But yeah, he did like his own little stuff. So
So you're out there doing, just living life, like you said, getting those experiences, getting out of your comfort zone.
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Learning how to dance. I think
Learning how
that's
to dance.
great.
As a matter of fact, I danced the other night with a widower and a nice guy who was there because his wife had wanted to take classes. I don't know. Maybe they had taken classes. I'm not really sure. But he was there and he was a widower. So you meet all these different people. So when I meet them, I try to talk to them about their journey, where they're going. Like I said, I don't know. I would love to start some type of support group on, maybe in my area for that. I don't know.
I think that's a great idea because I think this as a topic, death being one, or loss, it's taboo in the sense that it doesn't feel good to talk about, but really you should talk about it, right? And
Oh,
and to talk
absolutely.
about it with people that have been through it helps a lot. And then to add that widow aspect of it, I think that'd be a great thing if you did that.
Right. So maybe I'll start a widow group. I don't know. Maybe we can.
Or a podcast.
I know our
Yeah.
podcast. I know
Yeah,
that'd
we
be
talked
awesome.
about that before we started
Yeah.
recording. I think that'd be a great thing. So
Yeah.
maybe we see if we can make happen on
Yeah,
that.
so.
Well, look, Deborah, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story. For I don't know, just being you. I mean, it's awe inspiring. You make it easier for me. So
Right.
just having talked to you. But thank you for taking the time today to come and do this. And let's do another one in
Oh,
a couple months
absolutely.
or
Yep.
however it works out. We both have crazy schedules,
Yeah,
but
I know. I would love that. I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that like I said, we've been trying to do this forever.
We have.
And I think
And
I struggled with trying to do it because I wasn't really sure how it was going to be once I started talking about it.
I told you before, and I mentioned this is the nervous I've ever been doing any of this kind of stuff.
Well, the fact that you didn't have Kleenex here made it a little bit easier that neither one of us could cry, so our shirt tails are probably wet.
yeah,
but,
I would.
but no,
I
it's
think we
been
did good.
awesome.
I think we did good. I
think
hope we
did.
honored his life in the brief
hope
time that we
so.
talked about it.
Yeah.
Again, we're sharing this just to. It's cathartic for us, and then hopefully people that are listening. If this is something you've gone through in your life, if you want to shoot us a comment or reach out in
absolutely.
any way and talk to Deborah about her experience and share
Yeah.
whatever, I can link her in the video and
Yep.
you can become part of her first the widower talk group or whatever it ends up being.
I
So,
know we got to find a name for that. That'll
yeah,
be cool.
we'll come up with something cool.
I think so.
Well, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks again for stopping by. And until
Absolutely.
the next one.